I want to give you the number one way to, to get a huge vintage card collection. Hey there. So, you're thinking about starting a vintage card collection. Are you a little lost? Don't know where to start? Maybe I can help. I've got 5 easy steps to get you started collecting vintage cards. Let's get started. The first step in starting a vintage card collection is to build your knowledge. This means research. All this research will hopefully help you to keep from getting scammed. Now, there's several ways to do this research. My favorite is YouTube. Yay, YouTube! You can learn just about anything you want to on YouTube University. But also, there's a couple of websites that are frequent, and good old-fashioned books. I can make some recommendations. I'll leave all those in the link below, or in the description below. So your first question may be, well, Glenn, what exactly is vintage? Good question. I'm glad you asked it. Well, there's several different eras when it comes to collecting vintage cards. You've got your ultra modern, your vintage, and then your pre-war. Now, pre-war is from the 1800s up to 1939. Your vintage starts around 1940 and goes up until 1980. Your modern is from 1981 to 2016-ish. And then your ultra modern is like 2017 on up to the present. Now the modern and ultra modern, they're changing every time a new year rolls around and new sets come out. So just keep that in mind. Now let's talk a little bit about the history of sports cards. Your first baseball cards came out around 1865, and they were included with tobacco products, either chewing or smoking tobacco. Your first football cards were 1894-ish, and that was your Mayo plug cards. Jefferson Bird gave them the designation of the N302. Your first hockey cards around 1910 from the Imperial Tobacco Company out of Canada. Your first boxing card would have been about 1887, also tobacco, and that would have been the Allen and Ginter Company. So that's just a little bit of a couple of the top sports. Like I said, there's a lot of different vintage cards out there, but those are the sports. So now we need to talk about, what do you want to collect? Do you want to collect graded or raw cards? I myself do a combination of both. But let me explain what graded is. Graded means that a third-party company has examined and verified that the vintage card is authentic, basically. Just making sure it's real. There's a bunch of forgers out there that are looking to get your money. So third parties come about to ensure that the cards are authentic. They do this by checking the card and giving it a number grade, and then they encapsulate it to protect it and to ensure nobody else alters the card after they graded it. So they will give it a grade on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being perfect. And then raw, that just simply means no third party has looked at it to authenticate it. It's a little bit more risk. but as your knowledge grows, you can collect raw. You, just make sure you find yourself some really good dealers that you trust. But myself, like I said, I collect a combination of the raw and the slabbed. And what I do is on my higher value cards, I usually buy those graded by one of the top 2 or 3 companies. I prefer PSA, but the top ones are PSA, SGC. I really do like the SGC slabs, or flips, or some people call them flips. The tuxedo, the black, really makes some of these vintage cards stand out. But so my higher value cards, I get graded, or I buy graded. On some of my other vintage sets that I'm putting together raw, I only get the stars graded. Everything else I buy ungraded or raw. So you can do a combination of either or. You can go 100% raw, or you can go 100% graded, or like I do, a hybrid of raw and graded. So step 2. Now it's time to decide what you want to collect. Now don't let this put you in that box, because you can always pivot, change direction. Don't let this step paralyze you. Just figure out a card that you're a set that you're interested in, and go out and start buying them. You can, like I said, you can always pivot. You can always trade the cards away if you don't like them anymore. You can always resell them. There's always a market. So don't let this one be your hang up. This step here. This is actually the fun part. Actually getting the card, ordering it, and anticipating it coming in, or going to your local card shop. Which brings me to my next point. There's several ways to buy your first vintage card. Now that you know what what vintage means, and the types of vintage available, it's time to choose which one you're going to start with. I'd like you to let me know what you're starting with. I'm always interested in other people's collecting and their journey. You can do that by leaving me a comment, and I'll get back with you. You can really see some really nice scans of all the different vintage sets. The website I use for this is the Cardboard Connection. I will leave that in the comments, or in the description. It gives you really good, clear close-ups of the card sets and what they look like. That should help you make up your mind. It helps me. But like I said, I'll leave that in the description. Now it's time for step 3. After you decide what you're wanting to collect, now it's time to purchase. This is the fun part here. There are several great ways to buy vintage cards. I guess the most prevalent right now is online, eBay, MySlabs, sites like that. I do a lot of buying on eBay. I'm kind of isolated where I'm at, so eBay is usually my go-to. Now, in the old days before eBay, and the way I actually started my collection was the local card shop. We call them the LCS's, local card shop. My LCS was really good. I was young, as a kid, and I was buying late 80s, early 90s cards. But they treated me with respect and fostered the collecting gene in me. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a local card shop, mine's about an hour and a half drive away. But if your local card shop is fairly close, they are a great wealth of knowledge. You get to look at the cards firsthand. You can build that relationship with them, and trust me, these guys and gals that own these shops and work in these shops are thrilled to talk about cards. That's what they're there for. But my absolute favorite way to buy vintage cards is going to card shows, veterans alike. But just the atmosphere, the amount of cards that you can see, even outside of what you're looking to collect. You know, how the modern there as well. But that's my absolute favorite place to buy cards. You can usually get a good deal, and you can spend an afternoon just talking cards, gaining some knowledge, and making connections, and building your set. Those are the main ways that I add vintage cards, and that you can start adding your vintage cards. So now you've bought your card, you decided what you wanted, you got your card. Congratulations. That's a big step, your first card. Okay, since you've got your card, now we need to think about protection and storage. So that's point 4, protection and storage. Let's start with protection. Now, the basic way and the most common way that people protect their raw cards are with card savers. Now, what card savers are, they're a semi-hard plastic that's crystal clear. They've got a tab on one side, so the back side's a little longer, and this is to help maneuver the card into and out of the card saver. So these are the most popular right now. And then your next one would be your penny sleeve. I use penny sleeves for everything. They're really cheap. You can get them in packs of hundreds, or you can get them in 200. But I use them for everything. And what a penny sleeve does is it basically all it does is protect the surface of your card. It's not going to do much for dings and keeping it from getting bent, but it does protect the surface of the card. So as soon as I get a card, it goes into a penny sleeve, regardless of what else I'm doing with it. So those are available just about everywhere. The next way to store your cards would be with your non-pocket sleeve binders, and they're also made out of the crystal clear plastic. And as it says in the name of the product, it holds 9 cards. You can get it orientated with it where it's vertical, normal, or you can get them horizontal for like sets like your 1955 Bowman's, the TV set. But yeah, those are really good. What I do is I slip the card into a penny sleeve, and then I load it into the non-pocket binder. Now these are made for 3-ring binders. They're a beautiful way to display a raw set or team sets, or it's just where you can flip through them and enjoy your cards without having to worry about damaging them. Now your next way to store a card would be top loaders. Top loaders are more rigid than your card savers. They're a little bit thicker. You can still see through them, still clear, but they're just a little more rigid. So the only issue with those that I have is that if you put the card in there by itself, the card tends to move around inside the top loader. So what I do is I go back to my penny sleeve. I slide the card in the penny sleeve, and then I slide the card in the penny sleeve into the top loader. So that's the way I use those. But they have some screw down holders. I've got a couple of those. They're nice. Just make sure that if you're going to use a screw down holder, I think all the new ones nowadays have the little ridges. So it's not just 2 flat pieces of plastic like in the old days where you screw it down. We found that those have started making cards have damage to the surface. But now all the new manufactured ones do have the ridges to where you drop the card in below those ridges, so the card remains safe. The other piece of plastic goes right on top of those ridges, and then you just screw it down. Great products. I don't use many of them. Along those lines, they also have a magnetic holder, and it's basically the same thing, except those have got a hinge on the bottom. So it comes apart, it slides apart, you can put your card in. They still have the ridges, Then you put the hinge back on, and you close it, and then it's got a little magnet at the top that snaps shut. Those are pretty cool. I do like those. I don't have many of those either. I'm mostly the non-pocket sleeves for the binders, and the top loaders, and the card savers. That's what most of my collection's in. But all of these work. All of them are great products, and they're easily to get a hold of. Now that we got our card protected, the next thing we need to do is how are we going to store all these cards? Trust me, a collection gets big fast. So we have several options here as well. There's boxes made to hold either graded, ungraded. They even have boxes made for your top loaders and your card savers. So that's a nice new development. But they're not that expensive. You can get them. I'll put some links in the description, but you can get them for a couple dollars a piece. If you decide to buy more, like bulk order, you can get a better price. But they make them for the slabbed cards, and I have a couple of those. Need to get some more. If you've been to a show lately, or you're going to a show, you're going to see these fancier, higher end card cases that are made for mostly your slab cards. The big name right now, and has been for I guess since 2016ish, is the Zion cases. Now these cases are made to hold a variety of cards, slab cards, and they're not too expensive. They're a couple $100. You can get a nice one. There's some other ones that like on Amazon, eBay. Some of the other ones are there's a company called Too Tough, and they have graded card holders or cases. They hold up to about 160, 170 cards. They have a company called Case Club, and they have a 84 to 90 card case, and all these are about the same price range. You got the Pereza graded card storage. That one's a bigger one. It's got about 108, 110 cards. And then you got Casematic. Now this one's kind of cool. It's a little case that's made out of the same technology as the bigger Zion cases and that kind of thing. But it only holds about 8 to 11 cards. It's for your special cards, I guess. I don't have anything like that. But all these can be found online. They're not too expensive if that's what you're going for. I have a hard time buying these because I think, why would I buy that? I can buy me 1 or 2 or 3 more cards to add to my collection. So it's really not for me. Here soon I'll probably end up getting one, but at this moment I'd rather have the cards. But if you're into that, I just store mine in boxes and in the sleeves and the holders, and that's how I protect my set. Now, the last step, number 5, is get involved. Find yourself a community. That's what this hobby is all about. It's a community. I've been collecting for a while now, and even on YouTube, you get a hold of somebody and ask them a question that's in the collecting, the hobby. They're gonna reach back out and answer you for the biggest part. I haven't had any issues with anybody not wanting to help. So say, well, you got a question, get a hold of me. I might have the answer, I might not, but if not, I'll help you find it. That's what this is all about. Now, you can find communities on YouTube, of course. You can find Facebook groups. There's a lot of specialized Facebook groups for card collectors. Instagram has also got them. But now, I want to give you the number 1 way to get a huge vintage card collection. Now, you ready? You got to get started. That's the number 1 way. You get started and stay consistent. That's it. Before you know it, you'll have vintage cards all over the place. Uh, Remember, when it comes to collecting, you can dream big. And like we just said, start small. And it's all about the love of the cards. Hey, thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you got any value out of this, or leave me a comment. That'd be much appreciated. And as always, new subscribers are always welcome.